Hi, it's Candice with Grow Local, and today I am with Mike Ward, also known as Cargo Bike Mike. You might have seen him rolling around town on his blue bike, and it's a cargo bike, so hence the name. He's also got his own website. But today we're going to just be talking about his garden in his backyard, and I just want to know, Mike, why are you doing this? What's your motivation? What's your life?
Well, I am a 48-year-old stay-at-home dad who used to work in the tech industry. I spent 20 years in tech, and I just decided one day that, I wanted to really make a huge impact on my environmental footprint. So my wife and I left Victoria. We came to beautiful Port Alberni, where we knew the summers would be hot. I mean, not this hot, but we found a property where there was a lovely flat space to grow our vegetables, which last year we discovered we can grow 6 months worth of our own produce. And this year I'm shooting for 12 months. The heat wave put a little damper on things, but I'm not discouraged. I got lots of seeds ready to go. I want my daughter to know how food grows, where it comes from, because I think that's going to be a big part of our children's futures.
Yeah, and in my estimation, watching his daughter out here with him, she runs around with the chickens. She was talking about what they like to eat, what they didn't like to eat, what she needs to try to keep them away from. She was so proud of the broccoli. She loves the cherries. Oh my gosh, both the sour and the sweet. And you can already tell she's learning to love it. It's not, this is something that you need to do, this is something that we should do. This is something that you can love to do.
Yeah.
Am I close?
Yes, oh, absolutely. Actually, it's funny. She turned 5 years old a couple of months ago, and yesterday, for the very first time, without any prompting, she came out and cleaned out the coop, which I do every day. It's a very small amount. It's not a really big problem. She opened the coop, she cleaned it out, she put the poop in the proper compost bin, and she closed the door, and I came out and it was perfect. At 5 years old, no questions asked.
Yeah, I think it's just absolutely brilliant. The younger you learn, and if you're taught that it's something to strive to love, not a chore, it just makes such a big, big difference.
So, we're not starting with a blank slate, like a perfectly flat, level lot, with the perfect soil. This is an example of what we are dealing with, is that at some point in the history of this property, somebody had laid down this landscaping fabric. Now what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to be laid down to keep the weeds down, and then people throw rocks on it and throw soil on top of it. The problem is it's not an ideal situation for growing. So I've slowly been pulling up this landscaping cloth and filtering the gravel out. The alternative is to do a raised bed. Now I want to mention there's a reason that I want to put my plants in the ground, is that there's a lot less evaporate, or what do I say? I don't have to water as much, because putting your plants in the ground is better at holding the moisture than a raised bed. So I found that even on the hottest days and the driest days, I could stick my finger down and it was still cool and it was still wet. I do have one raised bed, and it was a big problem during the heat wave because I had to water it twice as much as the rest of the garden. So this area, though, it's I don't know if you can see in the shot, but this is all shale, and
It is. It's just lots and lots of rock. There's lots of, it looks like a lot of clay, which is not necessarily detrimental either.
Yeah. So what would you do?
Well, you know what? I have seen people, and they've just had phenomenal luck. I used to work with a woman, and this is what her ground was like. All she did was went to her local bike store, because they get the bikes in cardboard boxes, and they're huge. So she would take all the copper staples out of it and any plastic tape off of it, and she would just lay 2 layers of cardboard down on something like this, and then she put in a whole bunch of manure, and then she did a little bit of composting, and she put about 6 inches worth of soil on top of that, and just started her garden, and it decomposed, and at the end of the year she had about that much good viable soil
Wow.
that was on the surface of the ground. So the next year she just repeated the process. If she felt that there were too many weeds in it, she'd put down another layer of cardboard, or she would just start with the manure, the compost, and a little bit of soil on top, and then just kept planting. And by the end of 5 years, you would have had no idea that she was growing on rock. It was just absolutely stunningly beautiful.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, and it works, and it's cheap and it's easy. You mow your lawn, you got compost. You pull your weeds, you got compost.
You got chickens?
You got compost.
Got my-
And you also have the cages that you made. That, I'm assuming, is to keep the chickens out of certain areas at certain times.
Yeah, I'll basically this is 2-inch by 2-inch stucco cloth, stucco wire. This particular one here that I made is 12 feet long and 2 feet wide, which fits half of the beds that I've dug. When I put in some really sensitive seedlings like broccoli or cauliflower or cabbage, it's meant to keep the chickens out so that they can mature. Now, chickens love brassicas, and I do know that I learned the hard way that a chicken can get its head 9 inches in. So obviously when the broccoli and the cabbages are growing wide, there's going to be a point where the chickens are going to be able to snip off the ends. So maybe next year I'm going to build a purpose-built fence, cage the whole entire garden, so that I don't have to worry about that. Because cabbages, brassicas, that's our favorite.
That's awesome.
So I have 1,000 square feet of garden. What do I have growing in 1,000 square feet of my garden? I have cabbage, tomatoes, long green beans, Taylor horticulture beans, which are like a cow bean. I've got garlic, I've got broccoli, I've got zucchini, I've got cauliflower, I've got carrots, I've got potatoes, I've got onions, delicata squash, cucumbers, black beans, soybeans, 2 different kinds of pumpkins.
Too cool.
Awesome.
You rule.
Thank you.
And Mike, what is your Cargo Bike Mike website? What's that about?
Oh yeah, so I blog about being car-free and trying to be self-sustainable with the food production. My website is called cargobikemike.ca.
So check it out. It could be really interesting, you guys.